Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm Chris. I'm the Executive Director of Mission at the Eastward. And I just, again, thank you for letting me to come here to speak about the importance of what we're doing up in rural Maine. You can look over here. There's a slideshow of work this past year. I think there's some folks from Dover in this slideshow, and with some homeowner quotes, which I will be reading a little bit later on. But first of all, to give a little history of MATE, MATE was formed 70 years ago this year by the Presbyterian Church of the USA with the original purpose to strengthen and plant rural churches, pastors, and congregations to the people in Maine. The purpose morphed over time to form a variety of programs. We formed Camp at the Eastward to help provide spiritual experiences for kids. We had a South African partnership in the North Parish Housing Ministry, which now is MATE Housing Ministry, which you can see up here, which is the very bulk of our service. In 2019, we separated from the church officially. Although we keep our faith-based roots, we did that mostly for funding purposes, for getting grants and stuff like that, but we're still very much a faith-based organization. Currently, we have two programs. We have the MATE Transitional Housing Program, which is the McCleary House, and we have the MATE Housing Repair, which the MATE Youth Connection, which used to be a program, has really been absorbed into the housing ministry work. I mean, we have many people here who are part of that Youth Connection. This year, we are blessed to have 45% of all the volunteers we're expecting to be under the age of 18. So we're really happy to have them come up here and have very powerful faith-forming experiences. The MATE Transitional Housing Program, real quick, the purpose is to provide temporary free housing to a family or individual experiencing homelessness, primarily over the winter months from October to May, to allow themselves the opportunity to get back on their feet and avoid falling into the devastating cycle of homelessness, which, I mean, it's growing in Massachusetts, it's growing a lot in Maine, and it's even harder up in Maine because those winters are tough. They're getting a lot of icy, and it's just hard for them to survive. So we're really trying to keep them out of that. And the secondary purpose of that housing is to provide housing to special support volunteers and staff during the summer months to allow for the expansion of our operations. And then to talk now about the MATE Housing Ministry, which is really what puts this, what we heard today in Matthew 25, it really puts this into action, as anyone who's been on the trip can vouch for. Again, this was established in 1979, so a 45th year of operation, with a purpose to meet the basic human need for shelter by providing volunteer home repairs to our neighbors who are unable to afford or conduct the needed repairs on their own. Common projects we work on a variety of plumbing, electrical projects. We're repairing floors. We do a lot of roof repair and replacement, because up there in Maine, those roofs get real banged up in the wintertime with all the snow and ice that we have. We build ADA ramps and decks to allow people with mobility issues to be able to get into their houses and get out of their houses. So the repairs that we work on are critical to help these people remain in their homes that they're otherwise unable to afford. But the most important part of the service is, as most people that can tell you come on a trip, is that connection, that one-on-one connection with the homeowners that you come, and that helps to benefit both sides. But a lot of these people that we partner with up there, they're single, they're elderly, they might not have someone, they might have not talked to anyone in months at a time. So to have that one-on-one connection, to show that someone actually cares about them and is listening to them and wanting to know their story, that's really the most important part of the service. A little bit about last year, we were able to partner with 45 households to serve about 87 members of the community. Of that, 11.6% of the households we worked on were single-parent households. Of the people that we helped, 87, 35.9% had a mental and or physical disability, 25% were under the age of 18, 4% were veterans, and 57.8% were elderly. And of that amount, 68.7% earned less than $20,000 per year. And a lot of our single households earned a lot less than that, under $10,000 a year. We conducted repairs in 15 towns across 5 counties in central western Maine, within a 45-minute driving radius of Farmington. So you can see in my car outside, the motto for the state of Maine is vacation land, which when people think about Maine, a lot of times they think about Kennebunkport, they think about Bar Harbor, all those charming coastal towns along the coast. And then when they think about inland, they think about just the countless sparkling lakes we have and a lot of the camps and cottages and sprawling estates on there. But the poverty is really hidden, and this is something I didn't know until I started this work. I was one of the luckier people who get to grow up on one of those lakes, but people right down from the road from you are living without running water, without electricity, with dirt floors, without proper heating systems, and it's really hidden, and it doesn't have a lot of the attention paid to it as places like rural Appalachia or urban poverty, because people think about Maine a lot of times as a vacation destination, not issues that a lot of the state are dealing with. We have an exponential increase in demand for our service. Last year, we had an 86% more applications for home repairs than we had in 2023, and unable to attend to all those repairs, about 90 members of the community were waitlisted to receive the repairs they needed this year. These people a lot of times don't qualify for the aid they need from other sources. For example, one of our partners is Western Maine Community Action, who get a lot of federal money, but those federal money has stipulations that you can only put 50% of the value into the repairs of the home. So if an old mobile home needs a new roof, that's going to be over 50% of the value of the home. So a lot of times the most vulnerable members of the community are left without the help they need. And that's really the people that we're trying to touch and have an impact on. All these issues are made worse by the increase in housing costs, which I'm sure Maine's not alone in this. It's happened everywhere, but Maine was actually the third highest median sale price increase at any state in the country, behind Idaho and Montana since COVID. The average sales price has gone up 63% in Maine in that time. So that's making it hard for people with good, steady paying jobs to be able to afford a house. And these people who are at the lower end of the totem pole really have nowhere to go. They have to remain in their homes or they're going to end up homeless. We are blessed to be seeing also a big steady rise and increase in desire to serve. Last year we hosted 309 volunteers, a lot of those coming right here from Dover. That was a 41% increase from 2022 from 13 different work groups. This year we're expecting to host 343 volunteers from 17 to 18 different work groups. 7 to 8 of these are being new work groups, and that's really good because a lot of people come up for the first time and they have a really positive experience, so they keep coming up year after year. So to have 7 to 8 new work groups is really a really good sign for sustainability of helping to reach this increasing demand going forward. And we also have a group coming up from Nashville, which is also a good indication that kind of where our volunteers come from is also expanding. So a little bit about the future of MATE. We're making a decision to invest heavily into expanding our operations, primarily in the MATE Housing Ministry program to match that growing need. We are doing this by increasing operational support in the ways of having local contract workers and specialty volunteers. I know we had some last year in the form of the site supervisors during the Dover week. We are bringing that back this year, but we're really expanding it. We're going to have 10 here that week, where last year we had 3. We also brought in some contract workers who were skilled tradespeople this past week to do site assessments, which normally take us multiple weeks to do, 3 weeks to the better part of a month. We got all of our site assessments done in a week this year, which will allow us to prepare further in advance for the housing ministry season, communicate those plans with work groups, answer questions, just have more materials for them to allow us all to be more efficient on the job site so we can get repairs done quicker and we can go out and help more homeowners and touch the lives. To do this, though, of course, increasing all this operational support means increasing expenses, which we've determined that over the next 3 years, we have to raise fundraising by 15% annually to make this sustainable over the long term. So we're really going out there and we're trying to do this because we just know the importance of the service. As I saw, 86% increase. The demand is just growing because all of the impacts of COVID's kind of in the rearview mirror now, but a lot of the impacts of it are just staying right there that have caused mental health, loss of jobs, and generational poverty. So to help show the importance of some of our service, as you've seen up there, I wanted to just share some quotes which are powerful to hear. And this was all from homeowners this past year who I went out and interviewed after the season. I felt like I had rocks on top of me and I couldn't breathe. I was exhausted. I couldn't sleep at night. I was afraid that today's the day they're going to come and take the boys because we couldn't get this done. I've got the boys, and that was my goal, to keep the boys. We've been worrying about this for like 2 years, and to have this done was like a miracle. Some of the crew came back to see us from last year, and I cried. And something we always try to do, a lot of these houses we go back and we do one thing 1 year, then we'll go back the next year and do another thing. So we try to match the groups as best we can if they worked on someone's house the year before to send them back to that house the next year so they can continue to build that relationship with the homeowner, which is really important. They've been gone a few months, but in the years to come, they will always be here. At first, they started off as strangers, and on the second day, I was telling them jokes and horsing around with them and helping them out however I could. And by day 3, they were closer than my family. When the shingles got ripped off and the new roof got put on, it was sort of like a guardian angel got placed on top of my roof. The roof was put on due to love, faith, compassion, and helping thy neighbor. It was put on for all the right reasons. The work gave me more faith and trust in humanity. I never expected good to come back to me, and when it came back to me, it kind of shocked me. So why do we serve? We are called to serve at various different points of the Bible, as we heard today in Matthew 25. The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of these least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And to have that term, the least of these, and to help out those in need, has always kind of struck a chord with me thinking about it, because what does it mean to be in need? I think we are all in need of something, and coming and taking part of this service trip, a lot of times you find out something that you may not have also known that you needed in your life. And I think that's why we're called to serve. I think we're called to serve to not only help people who really, really need it and have no other option, but we are also called to serve because everyone benefits from this situation. Everyone draws closer together, and everyone draws closer to God. And to show this, I just wanted to show, I know we have a lot of youth come up from here, and this is what a quote was from, she's now a board member of ours, but she had been coming up on youth trips every year since she was probably 12 years old. As a college kid, it is not common for friends or classmates to have an interest in religion or service opportunities. I love sharing Mate with friends because it helps to show that religion in church doesn't have to be scary. I want to help bring that to other people who may want to help but don't know how. Mate is a great stepping stone in this regard. As Mother Teresa once said, if you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one. You may not be able to change the world, but you can change someone's world, and in the process of doing so, your world may also be changed. So there are a variety of ways we can get involved. You can talk to Kayla and Mags and come on the trip. We'd welcome you all up to Maine this summertime. There's other ways that you can volunteer. You could join a committee. We're really trying to bolster our fundraising committee to help to get that 15% annually for the next 3 years. We are always welcoming more board members. Everyone have different strengths, and of course we're welcoming donations as well. So I wanted to thank you all for your continued support of our organization, both on the ground up in Maine and for your support behind the scenes. It's just a real blessing to be here today and see all of you. So thank you so much for having me. God bless.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining us in worship today. Thank you for the vital work that Mate does. We hear it again and again in the Bible. We hear it in popular literature, in musicals, this idea that when you love another person, you love God. When you love another person, you encounter God. When you love another person, you see the face of God. Mate helps us do that. Mate helps our young people do that, people in this church, students who have no other involvement in our faith community, have their lives changed on this trip. Adults who are members of our congregation, or maybe who just heard about us through the grapevine, they come and they become like family. When you love another person, you see the face of God. I was part of that group that worked on one of the homes last year and got to revisit it this year. And in the van on the way over, our students who had worked there last year were vibrating with excitement to see those homeowners again. They got out of the van and they called their name and they went running over, and there were hugs, and we got a tour of all that had been done since we were last there. And there were tears, and our students were so excited to see the new couch and to talk about paint colors for when that wall was finally done. When you love another person, you see the face of God. Sometimes it's hard to really love another person who's so different, to love them with your heart, with your mind, with your resources. And on this trip, we are encouraged, we are allowed, we are supported in doing just that. So thank you to Chris, thank you to all of you, because it's through your support of Mate directly and of the Dover Church that we're able to make this happen. There's not one person on our staff who doesn't put in hours to making the Mate trip happen. When you pledge to the Dover Church, you're pledging to families like that, to the belief that they deserve a safe place to be, that they deserve to raise their families without fear, that they deserve to fall asleep and wake up in warmth and safety. Thank you for joining us in this holy work and remembering that when you love another person, you see the face of God. Amen.